Shadow Murkrow going to hit the field of play, that magical 2-to-1 shield advantage, and this really is where Murkrow shines. Ric Flair going to invest one Protect Shield, blocking up the serve, and this is a prime opportunity to overfarm. Ric Flair does exactly that before releasing the foul play, looking to remove Gelatin from the field of play. Down goes the Jellyfish, back out comes Charjabug, but unless the opponent give up that final protection, that Volt Switch will not be registering. There's the second knockout. Murkrow still not done. Out comes Clodsire. Murkrow overfarms, fires off the Drill Peck, that's going to land for heavy neutral damage. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an absolute banger of a battle submission from none other than my good friend, the one and only Ric Flair Best. These battles were actually played in the Halloween Cup, whilst I'm well aware that league has just ended. Don't click away from the video just yet, because what we're going to see is that formidable core of a dark plus poison type. Another reason not to click away is, let's be honest, who watches my content for hardcore, sweaty grinding teams? Probably no one. What you're here for is some entertainment, and trust me when I tell you, when you see Galarian Weezing and Murkrow on the same team, prepare to be entertained. Shadow Murkrow is without a doubt a very high risk, high reward Pokemon. It is insanely glassy. Very, very glassy indeed, but the trade-off for that is its damage output is absolutely mind-boggling. Trust me when I tell you, this little bird hits like an absolute fucking truck. Let's keep the intro short and sweet. So with all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, Ric Flair Best is off to a good start as Galarian Weezing stares down Spiritomb. It's interesting that the opponent's opting to stay in, so that can only mean that something behind this Spiritomb also doesn't want to see Weezing. The opponent shielded the first Brutal Swing. Weezing able to fire off Brutal Swing number 2 before inevitably debuffed by the incoming Rock Tomb. Ric Flair Best actually going to take his shield advantage, and I'm a big fan of that, because what Murkrow thrives with is an energy lead and shield advantage, and in this scenario we have both. Trainer, are you serious? The opponent sends out Skeledirge, 2 pecks, and the foul play, almost a one-hit KO. Murkrow able to peck farm down, it's Drifloon in the back, and just like that, we're off to a very quick 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we found a much more problematic lead as Ric Flair Best leads his Galarian Weezing into Drapion. Drapion going to fire off the Aqua Tail. Ric Flair Best hasn't got Overheat or Play Rough, but of course this is a blind battle. The opponent does not know that. We look to bait a Play Rough / Overheat, but the opponent holds strong, not falling for any of our shenanigans. Ric Flair Best fires off back-to-back Brutal Swings, getting Drapion deep into the red health range. The next Aqua Tail removes us from the field of play. Golurk enters the arena. Mudslap farming down. It's about time Golurk did some bloody work, because in the last battle it did absolutely nothing. Greninja might have the typing advantage matchup. Well, actually, double typing advantage as the water typing hits our ground typing with super effective, and the dark hits our ghost typing. But in the 2-shield scenario, Golurk can fully mudslap farm down, but Ric Flair Best actually takes the opportunity to catch the Night Slash onto Murkrow. The opponent gets the boost, but they're still going to get farmed down, and out comes some kind of pesty Charmer. I'm assuming Wigglytuff. It is indeed Wigglytuff. We fire off the Drill Peck, forcing the Protect Shield. Golurk re-enters arena, fires off the Dynamic Punch. I really wanted to say get that Wigglytuff off my screen. Unfortunately, Dynamic Punch doesn't get the job done, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. Heading into the next battle. Galarian Weezing temporarily stared down a Greninja. The opponent makes a very interesting counter swap into Togekiss. If I'm being brutally honest, I think this is a worse matchup. Greninja can outpace Weezing, whereas Togekiss, now behind by a turn, is never ever outpacing, as we take 10 turns to the Sludge, whereas they're 10 turns to the Psyshot. The opponent very quickly invests both Protect Shields. Ric Flair Best thinks about taking his shield advantage last second, invests the protection. The opponent go for a Sludge Catch onto Annihilate. Catch attempt unsuccessful. We bank a boatload of energy and send out Murkrow. Ice Punch easily going to knock out. The opponent actually go for the Rage Fist. We attempt the Peck farm down and ends up in a simultaneous KO. Ric Flair banking a boatload of energy on Weezing. Should see him home here. We actually send out Golurk into Greninja. Greninja going to be forced to dump his energy. Hydro Cannon, Night Slash, whatever they throw is going to pick up the knockout. They go for the Hydro Cannon. Ric Flair Best sends out Weezing. Goes for one Fairy when the opponent catch onto Togekiss. Nice catch, Trainer, but we're doubled up. And it's going to be back-to-back booms. One Sludge knocked out Togekiss. One Sludge knocks out Greninja. And we take that game. Heading into the next battle, Galarian Weezing stares down Guzzlord, but absolute dream lead. The opponent's actually opting to stay in, so once again, look to be completely core broken by Weezing. 7 Fairy Winds and the Sludge. Sludge goes unshielded. The opponent completely sacked Guzzlord. Oh my days. Out comes Tentacruel. The Ultra Leagues now return, and Guzzlord plus Tentacruel also form a pretty formidable core. Henry used to run this team. I think it was like Greedent or something in the back. Very, very strong back in the day, but Weezing putting in hella work here, firing off Brutal Swing after Brutal Swing, finally stripping the first protection of the game. Ric Flair best, sends out Golurk, shield buddy, don't call an acid spray. We correctly shield up the Scold, can Tentacruel reach another move? No, they cannot. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and they concede the match. Another very, very quick game. Heading into the next battle, we see a much more problematic lead. We actually say switch into Golurk. That's arguably a hard counter, but the opponent doesn't really have a hard punish, as out comes Azumarill. Whilst Azumarill is hitting for super effective with the bubbles, the Mud Slap Shadow Punch combination really adds up. We actually force a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup, which is kind of like a best-case scenario. We haven't got Mud Slapped in a range where one singular sludge will knock out, but Weezing going to be more than content to tank an Ice Beam, a Fairy Wind farm down and leave with residual energy good to go. Sludge almost a knockout. The opponent banked the Ice Beam, aggressively send out Clodsire, and here comes Murkrow. Murkrow definitely going to invest in protection here. Oof, Stone Edge. That definitely would have killed this Shadow Murkrow and every Murkrow to ever enter the Go Battle League. We heavily overfarm, fire off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck, not quite enough to get the job done. We do invest the final protection, and we've got to be mindful the opponent can potentially go for a combo play. Speaking of which, the opponent went for the combo play, tried to send that Azumarill. They transferred the peck like a complete potato, and Azumarill loses energy. Out comes Greninja. Murkrow doubled up on Drill Peck's one. Almost a knockout. Trainer, what are you saving that shield for? We make the catch. Back onto Weezing. Hydro Cannon doesn't get the job done. We Fairy Wind farm down, leaving with the bad manners Sludge. This is a double resisted move. You love to see it, Sludge. Forced to protect shield. We've got the Drill Peck banked, and that is going to be all she wrote. Oh man, the opponent definitely made a massive hash of the endgame, but Ric Flair best, able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle, we see a fantastic lead, but a very problematic say switch. Potentially not as problematic if we went instantly to Golurk, but as we've kind of been hesitant, we can't send Golurk into a loaded Drapion. We can potentially tank this move and then look to get out. Ric Flair, oh my god, Sludge Bomb. I did not see that one coming. The surprise Sludge Bomb tech almost knocked out our Weezing. How we can go for the one shield, full Mud Slap farm down, and this is where that magical Ghost plus fighting coverage comes in clutch. This is a horrendous matchup for Golurk, but Dynamic Punch certainly leaves a dent, instantly putting the opponent into the yellow. The opponent unable to outpace. We reach the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch goes unshielded. Golurk is a Galarian Moltres counter confirmed. You heard it here first. It's Nidoqueen in the back. We send out Murkrow. The opponent doesn't want the smoke, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, fantastically, Galarian Weezing into Annihilate. The opponent says switch into Tentacruel, and it's a good old case of RPS, and thankfully in our favour. Golurk gonna go for the one shield, full Mud Slap farm down. Holy fucking shit, that was a blizzard. What is with this surprise tech today? First Sludge Bomb, then blizzard. Out comes Mandibuzz. This is what makes Golurk so good. Ghost plus fighting coverage is only resisted by one Mon, well actually two Mon. Zoroark and Zoroark in the Hisui form. My god, look at the damage we've put on this Mandibuzz as well. Golurk is no joke, man. This thing hits hard. We send out Weezing, as we've got another great answer for Annihilate in the form of our Murkrow. The opponent fire off the foul play bait, then pivot into Annihilate, and this is just game over. Ric Flair best, fires off the Brutal Swing, forcing the opponent's first protection. We farm up, look to catch the Rage Fist onto Murkrow. This is resisted, but might not look all that resisted. Are we actually going to counter farm down here? I believe we are, but we should be able to fire off this Drill Peck, force the opponent's final Protect Shield, and we've got a Brutal Swing banked. We can just shield this up. The opponent's going to be unable to catch out, as it is a charge attack priority. Brutal Swing will be moving them from the field of play, even on the off chance the opponent reaches an Aerial Ace, the move I always call Aerial Ass, and it simply won't get the job done. We actually outpace to the Brutal Swing, and they are so low that resisted Brutal Swing is going to be all she wrote. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Skeledirge in the lead position. I would say the entire team do great into Skeledirge, but let's be honest, it's not like Murkrow is going to tank and incinerate particularly well. 7 Fairy Winds and the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing forced the first protection, will then make the pivot into Golurk, sneaking the Mud Slap in the process. Golurk tanks the Torch Song. The opponent then pivot out into Tokias, able to peck farm down, unfortunately, just before the Shadow Punch is reached. Nice to bait this thing out, as they now found themselves in a range where a single Sludge will knock out. We look to fire off the Sludge, but unfortunately lose CMP. Ric Flair best, going to shield up the incoming Psy Shock. and look to move his Togekiss from the field of play. Sludge does exactly that, get that Togekiss off my screen. Out comes Golurk. Oh, Ric Flair, you naughty boy. We're going for the bad manners, Sludge. Recognise the opponent's definitely invested protection. They've already seen the brutal swing. We then send out Murkrow, trap the opponent into the charge attack priority. They do not win. Foul play removes them from the field of play. Back out comes Golurk. It's going to be back-to-back booms, but little bad manners thrown in, and we take that game. I did say in the intro, ask yourself, are you not entertained? Heading into the next battle, we see Greninja in the lead position. The opponent say no thank you, say switch into Clodsire. And here comes Golurk. The opponent throws on alignment, giving us a full free Mud Slap. Ric Flair best, correctly shields with the Earthquake, which is a huge Protect Shield deployed. He then heavily overfarms before firing off the Shadow Punch, looking to move Clodsire from the field of play. Shadow Punch does exactly that. Back out comes Greninja. Ric Flair best with a boatload of energy, gonna fire off the Shadow Punch bait, forcing our Protect Shield back. The opponent not wanting to get Dynamic Punch to the face, wisely dumped their energy. Night Slash moves us from the field of play. Back out comes Weezing. I don't dislike playing to CMP here because we're not in Hydro Cannon range, but they are certainly in Sludge range. This now leaves the opponent with a decision to make. Are they going to shield Greninja? No, they're not. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. This is GG's. And unfortunately, not in our favour. We're not even going to reach 2 moves. The opponent shield the foul play, fully Volt Switch farm us down. Weezing out of energy, out of HP. To make matters worse, we're about to get debuffed too. The opponent fire off the Rock Tomb. We're going to fire off the Brutal Swing, but Brutal Swing is simply not going to cut it, and this one is going to end in heartbreaking defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle with Ric Flair best, looking to bounce back, and we see Charjabug in the lead position. Nice to keep this far away from our glassy bird. Ric Flair best, going to strike first, firing off the Sludge. Off, you savage. This should be the discharge, and that is double resisted. Golurk easily tanks that damage, and out comes Gelatin. Ric Flair best farms up, traps the opponent into the charge attack priority. Bit sloppy from the opponent, to be honest. Clearly, we're looking to play to CMP, and the opponent, all they've done here is dump their energy. This now puts Murkrow in the exact position it loves to be in, with a magical 2-to-1 shield advantage. Right on cue, Murkrow hits the field of play. Ric Flair best, gonna invest 1 Protect Shield in exchange for a massive overfarm. Murkrow heavily overfarms before unleashing the foul play and looking to move this jellyfish from the field of play. Down goes Jellicent. Charjabug re-enters the arena, but unless the opponent's willing to shield, that Volt Switch will not be registering. Down goes Charjabug. The opponent sends out Clodsire. Little Murkrow still not done. Gonna overfarm, fire off the Drill Peck, which is gonna land for heavy neutral damage, rocking Clodsire below the half health range. You see a very nice overfarm for the opponent, firing off the Charge Me just before the next Drill Peck's reached. But I think we're still fine here, right? Shield this up, reach the double Brutal Swing. Surely that's Brutal Swing range, right? Yeah, they're in the red. That's got to be Brutal Swing range. This is Shadow Weezing. The first Brutal Swing will be forcing the opponent's final protection right on cue. There's the next Brutal Swing, and that should be all she wrote. No. No shot. No shot. Oh. I don't know what to say. Heading into the next battle. With Ed Weezing into Dragalge. I'm going to guess they're on Dragon Tail. If they're on Acid, they probably would have stayed in, as that is by no means a bad matchup for them. The opponent fire off the Trailblaze. Oof, we're still able to Mud Slap farm down, and we leave minimal farm for the return of Dragalge. The opponent actually 5-ed us, sending out Wigglytuff, and we fire off a double resisted Shadow Punch. Oof, that's brutal. Weezing re-enters the arena, going to fire off the Sludge. Look to force the first protection of the game, or not. It looks like the opponent putting all their hopes and dreams on Dragalge. Back out comes Dragalge. Weezing fires off the Brutal Swing. The opponent still isn't shielding. Oh boy, this is going to get dicey again. We can't really afford to shield this. And the question is now going to become, can Murkrow survive a non-stab Aqua Tail? Murkrow, buddy, you've got one job. One job. Moment of truth time. Do we survive a non-stab Aqua Tail from here? Oof, that's close. But the Peck registers before the Dragon Tail, and we just about escaped for a dub. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the next battle, we see Togekiss in the lead position. A decent lead for us. We're going to CMP to the first move. We alternate between 10 turns and 8 turns with our straight 10s. We're always going to win this in the 2-shield scenario, but you can see the Peck's doing objectively more than our Fairy Winds. We fire off the first Sludge, forcing the first protection of the game. The opponent doesn't go for a catch. Sludge lands on its intended target and very quickly forces the opponent all shields down. would like to see the opponent overfarm here. I agree with Ric Flair, to be honest. If you're not going to overfarm training, we'll take our shield advantage. We can send out Murkrow, go straight for the Drill Peck, remove Togekiss from the field of play and still keep a shield intact. Down goes Togekiss. The opponent sends out Clodsire. Clodsire might be one of the bulkiest mon eligible for the format. We can two-shot with Drill Peck. The first Drill Peck. Monstrous damage. All for Ric Flair makes yet another savage catch of what should be a Stone Edge or Sludge Bomb. That doesn't do too much. Out comes Moltres. Moltres gets the full Sucker Punch farm down. And it's all down to Murkrow to clean up. Murkrow gonna, of course, be shielding up the fly. Ric Flair needs to overfarm as much as he physically can. The question now becomes, can we survive the poison things and reach yet another Drill Peck in Murkrow? I believe Clodsire re-enters the arena, unable to poison sting farm down. Murkrow will not be denied, reaching yet another Drill Peck, and we take that game. Murkrow, you absolute monster. GG's. In the next battle, fantastic lead, all for the opponent, completely core broken to shreds by Galarian Weezing as they send out a Azumarill. Let me tell you something, trainer, this also isn't a great Galarian Weezing counter. The opponent farming up a boatload of energy. We reach yet another Sludge, the bunny gets completely sacked, out comes Sizzle, we send out Golurk. Golurk going to be investing the Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Night Slash. The opponent's switch timer should be up right on cue, the pivot back into Guzzlord. It's a bit greedy, to be honest. We're going for the Shadow Punch bait. What do I know? The bait forced to protect his opponent. Looks for the Dragon Tail farm down. Golurk will not be denied. Reaching the Dynamic Punch. There's a one-hit KO. Back out comes Scizor. Murkrow going to re-enter the arena. Go for the tap-tap. Fast move beatdown. And we take that game. Heading into the next battle. We see Mandibuzz in the lead position. Looks like I should have been running Weezing in the Halloween Cup, as this thing is core-breaking teams left, right and centre. Sludge certainly leaves its mark, going to do objectively more than an absolute garbage move that we like to call aerial ass on the channel. This matchup actually gets kind of close in the Zero Shield, as much as I'm giving Mandibuzz all sorts of abuse here. This X-Aerial Ace won't get the job done, and Weezing will be able to fair win farm down and potentially reach a charge move or whatever comes out next. Out comes Golurk, so unfortunately unable to get off a charge move. We do have the alignment we want. We send out Murkrow. The opponent pivots into more Pekko, and at this point, this is game over. The opponent going to fire off the Psychic Fangs. Golurk shrugs off the damage, going to get that full Mud Slap farm down. I think potentially we just commit to fast moves. Ric Flair has other ideas, going to fire off the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch, of course, forces the Protect Shield. I think this is still going to be a fast move beatdown on our part. So I guess we probably should have just committed to a Mud Slap and made this game somewhat quicker. The opponent going to fire off Shadow Punch bait after Shadow Punch bait, but no amount of Master Baiting is ever changing the outcome of this battle. They're not going to be able to double Shadow Punch bait into a Dynamic Punch. This is game over. The opponent reaches one departing charge move, firing off yet another Shadow Punch bait. We're going to peck farm down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Araquanid in the lead position. Another reason why I probably should have ran Weezing, as this thing gave me a bloody headache in this cup. Zweilous, not particularly good into Araquanid, believe it or not. We land the Sludge, the opponent can fire off the Water Pulse, Bubble Beam, whatever they like, one move is survivable. And it looks like we're still going to reach two further Sludges and secure this in the Zero Shield matchup. We fire off one Sludge, force the protection, the opponent pivot into a Azumarill. That more than works for us. A Sludge going to do more to Azumarill than it would have done to Araquanid. It's not too often you're going to see a Dark type counter swapped into a Azumarill. Ric Flair there did throw an alignment, but there's method in the madness. As we threw 6, tried to throw on CMP to the Ice Beam. The opponent took the extra bubble, then completely sacked the Azumarill. Back out comes Araquanid. They fire off the Bubble Beam bait. However, Murkrow is still able to farm down, leave with a boatload of energy. Out comes, is that Golurk, Nidoqueen? I saw a Mud Slap. It's Golurk. We're debuffed. It's simply not going to matter. The opponent recognised, even at -1. Foul play, easily going to knock him out, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see the return of the Skeledirge lead. So if you're Weezing in this matchup, you want to throw optimal timing, which is 2 quick moves or 7, of course. We can't throw after 2, so Ric Flair opts for 7, only giving the opponent 1 free turn. We land the Brutal Swing, make the catch and the sneak into Golurk, tank the Torch Song before Azumarill's counter swapped in. Azumarill not going to be able to bubble farm down before the Shadow Punch is reached, and the Shadow Punch is quite valuable damage, putting them very, very close to Sludge range. It potentially is Sludge range. It kind of depends on how XL this Azumarill is. We fire off said Sludge. Sludge, not quite a knockout, but does leave the opponent on fractional HP. We tank the Ice Beam, able to Fairy Wind farm down. The opponent sends out Scizor, and unfortunately it's us this time that's going to get fast move beat down. Ric Flair best, shields up the Night Slash, but Scizor can fully Bullet Punch farm us down if they wish. They've still got 2 shields too. They make the catch onto Skeletor, and that is the final nail in our coffin. Able to Bullet Punch, farm down Murkrow, Bullet Punch, farm down Weezing, and the opponent emerges with a dub. Well played to that opponent. In the next battle, we let Galarian Weezing into Greninja, the opponent Save Switch into Fortress, and here comes Golurk. Ric Flair best, opts to fire off the Shadow Punch before they potentially reach an Earthquake. Unfortunately, Shadow Punch isn't quite lethal. Ric Flair best, last second, invest to Protect Shield. I imagine we survive an Earthquake. Not well, but I don't dislike the 1 shield farm down, because we're going to force our Protect Shield back off this Greninja or cleanly knock out. Much to my disappointment, we forced a Protect Shield back. Of course, I would have loved to see Greninja Dynamic Punch to the face, but it wasn't meant to be. The opponent fire off the Night Slash, send back out Greninja. The opponent sends out Golurk. We fire off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing forced the opponent's final Protect Shield, and it's all down to Murkrow to clean up. I guess we shield the Dynamic Punch. Good shield on our part. We can now fire off 4 Pecks and the Foul Play. Foul Play easily going to knock out. We're going to leave 1 off the Drill Peck, and this is game over. Greninja going to re-enter the arena, but it's going to be straight in and straight out with Murkrow taking back-to-back booms. GG's, and thanks for playing. Taking back-to-back booms. Is that even English? I probably should have said landing back-to-back booms. Heading into the next battle, we see Golurk in the lead position. We Save Switch into Murkrow, baiting out Greninja. Murkrow wastes no time, fires off the Drill Peck, forcing the first protection of the game. Ric Flair best, unfortunately gets Night Slash baited. Who doesn't love to bait such a glassy shadow Pokemon? But undeterred, Murkrow still able to outpace to the next Drill Peck. Drill Peck forced the final protection. The opponent heavily over farm, and unfortunately we're even in Night Slash range. The opponent fires off the Night Slash, removing us from the field of play. Weezing gonna re-enter the arena. We can survive any one move. The opponent throw the Hydro Cannon. Weezing shrugs off the damage. Back out comes the unshielded Golurk. A Brutal Swing is certainly going to leave its mark. Oh my god, that's non-stab, but still picks up the 1-hit KO. The opponent ironically fought super hard for switch advantage and then gave Weezing the 1 shielding scenario where it actually beats Golurk. The zeros. Speaking of which, the opponent's got their own Weezing in the back, so we wisely invest the Protect Shield, fully mod that farm down, leaving with a charge move, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Fortress in the lead position. I'm going to assume they're on Bug Bite, hence they pivot out. The opponent Save Switch into Nidoqueen, go for the Poison Fang that is double resisted as both ground and Ghost does resist poison. We do invest a Protect Shield. And it looks like we actually tanked that. Potentially they would have Mud Slap farmed us down before we Mud Slap farmed them down. Or maybe it would have been a Simul KO, but regardless, we're able to maintain alignment and they're actually on Volt Switch. Golurk going to fire off back-to-back Shadow Punches. 1 went unshielded and 1 forced our Protect Shield back. We send back out Weezing, able to fire off the Brutal Swing on the charge attack priority. Another reason they could have pivoted out is potentially this is a double Mud Slap team. If they Earthquake, it's going to be a 1-hit KO. They actually fire off the Sand Tomb bait, which does pitiful damage. It's not double Mud Slap, but it's double ground. And here comes Murkrow. Murkrow, of course, going to be investing in the Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Stone Edge. We've already seen they are able to 2-shot with double Drill Peck. 1 gonna do half the health, the second one gonna easily knock out. Holy man, this Clodsire must have garbage IVs. That was crazy damage. The next Drill Peck removes them from the field of play. Back out comes Fortress. Fortress gonna opt to dump energy. I think the only win con was committed to the Volt Switch farm down, which they did not. They fire off yet another Sand Tomb bait. Trainer, why would you Sand Tomb a flyer? I have no idea, but Murkrow able to clean up. Much to my disappointment, heading into the final battle of today's shoutcast, Ric Flair, this has been a fun one. Fantastically, the opponent tried to catch a sludge onto Clodsire, catch attempt unsuccessful, and here comes Golurk. The opponent farms the Earthquake, Ric Flair best, looks to call the bait, oof. Holy man, that's almost a 1-hit KO, but Golurk holds strong. Reach the Shadow Punch. The opponent want a Flip Switch. It is going to cost them both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup. The opponent look more than content to invest both Protect Shields and just look to flip that god-awful alignment. We send back out Weezing, go straight for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing won't be lethal. And if I had to hazard a guess at what this team is, it's going to be Dark Double Poison. With that in mind, I love this play. Save all the shields to Murkrow and let Murkrow end today's video of a big fat sweep. We peck farm down Clodsire, back out comes Moltres and things are looking good. If the opponent had something like a Charmer, they'd send it out. Clearly they do not. We overfarm, fire off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck removes Galarian Moltres from the field of play. My team read an absolute good one. An absolute banger, if I do say so myself. Hi Nidoqueen, bye Nidoqueen, remove yourself from my screen. And that is a full-on Murkrow sweep. GG's, and thanks for playing. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Shoutcast. Despite Halloween Cup no longer being with us, I think that submission was well worth Shoutcast. And a huge thank you to Ric Flair Best for sending us in today's battle. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. The link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one.